Shinigami,
And I'm the Quincy.
and this is our review of Bleach Chapter 530.
Everything but the rain. OP3.
Yep. So, what did you think of the beginning part?
The beginning part with the two Shinigamis that we don't know of, that we, have no information on. I thought it was good because Ishin came in, and I've been wanting to know a lot more about this character Ishin. I ain't gonna lie, this dude's a fly cat. Dude's fly. So it was glad to. I was happy to see him. What did you think?
I thought it was pretty interesting. Where the chapters leave off and stuff, like the first OP one, Nothing But the Rain, it was Ishin being saved by Masaki, and what I think is going to happen is they show the ending and then they build up to it from the beginning. But whenever they did OP2 and the ending was showing eyes and Ishin is running to go somewhere, I thought it was somewhere in Soul Society, but I guess I just didn't read it too well. And then the third one, it comes out and he's in Karakura Town now. And it was a little confusing for me, but I think maybe they might be working two different stories, or maybe they're just doing one and I didn't pay enough attention to it.
I see what you're trying to say. It is pretty hard to follow. But I think if you really take your time to read the chapters, and it'll become clearer. But I do agree that they might be doing two different stories. Actually, there could be three stories, but I'm not sure about the third one.
I'm not sure what the third one might be.
There's just a possibility of a third story. We just haven't seen or heard about it yet.
So now, there really wasn't much else to that first part. I mean, it was all about Ishin and the people, and then he has to pee alone.
You know what? The thing that I was laughing at this part, when Ishin said, "Return home, I have to pee." I was laughing because he can make the single phrase "I have to pee" and still make it sound badass.
Yeah, he can.
It's because it's Ishin.
Yeah. So, Captain's here. Go home. I gotta pee. Oh, you done did it.
This brings us to the second part of the story. The part that I was most happy about, being the Quincy and what all,
Yeah. I was pretty happy about this part too. I mean, it was really good backstory and it showed a lot about it.
You see Ishida in a panel, just the panel and the name on it is Ishida. I nearly fainted from finally being able to know some backstory on Ryukin and Masaki and their relationship. Now me, personally on this part, I was thinking there are two things about Masaki. She was a slave to the Ishida family, or she was adopted. Or she was, Ryukin's sister. Turns out she was adopted, so I was happy about that. And it makes sense. It does make a lot of sense. But the mom, Ryukin's mom, that she can literally take her Quincy cross, summon her bow, open her legs, and shoot herself in her unicorn vagina. I know Misaki is adopted. I've seen kids who are adopted. I know people who are adopted. Their adopted family don't treat them like shit. When they do, it pisses me off. It's maybe a manga, but it does teach you life lessons. So I was pissed about that. So, Shinigami, you should take over right now, because I might start getting into a rant.
No, that's alright. People like your rant. But, I thought it was pretty interesting. Yeah, I really didn't like Ishida's mom. Or, yeah, Ishida. Guess you can call him that, that's his last name.
Yeah.
She just... You could tell she's really strict, and she kind of gave me a resemblance to a paler, older version of Jackie Tristan with the same haircut or similar haircut, kind of similar facial features. But yeah, I thought, well, at first, whenever they showed a dark-haired person and they didn't show her up close, it was sort of farther away still. I thought, Uryu? What's he doing here? And I realized that's stupid. He's not even born yet. It's like, oh, that's somebody else. And at
Udi is just that awesome.
first I thought it was Ryuk, and I was like, okay, what happened? Did his hair used to be darker, and then all of a sudden, like some midlife crisis made it go grayish white? And then I thought, and I knocked some sense into myself, and I thought, or it could just be somebody else in the family. There are more than one people. But this shows there are more Quinchis now, other than whenever they referred to themselves as the last Quinchis. So I think maybe they were hiding something all along. They knew there were more Quinchis from about, and now that the Quinchis are coming out hiding.
I think what the Ishidas meant by the last of the Quincy's was the last of their bloodline. Because uh, you remember Ryuken's mom saying to Masaki, "You are the last of the Kurosaki clan, and we were glad enough to take you in." So I think by what Uryu meant by the last of the Quincy was the last of like the Ishida clan. Because, Ryuken gave up his ways. He gave up being a Quincy. We know that for sure. That's what I have on that right there.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's more plausible, more likely than anything I could come up with. So I definitely agree with it.
I just been thinking about that like all day today.
What did you think of young Ryuken? Finally seeing him.
I think it was nice. It was a really. I didn't expect him to be like that. I expected him to be a little harsher, I expected him to be like his mom. But no, he was 100% towards my Quincy honor. He is what Uryu is now. That's who he is.
It really is. That's what I thought was. It's like he's almost a spitting image of Uryu, or Uryu is a spitting image of him. Then.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it was nice seeing. It's nice seeing all these characters have a younger state instead of being just the adults. It's nice to see their backstory now, and all at once.
We're getting like what 3 backstories at one time. No, 4 backstories, but I'll get to the 4th one near the end of the review discussion. So Shinigami,
Yes.
what did you think about the maid possibly being Uryu's mom?
Yeah. Well, I sent you a message about that earlier, and then I wasn't sure if you read the chapter, so I tried to tell you on Twitter, but that didn't work. But anyway, uh, at first, whenever I saw her, I really wasn't thinking anything about her being his mother or anything. I just thought, oh, look, here's the maid. But then,
Really? That was the first thing that came to mind to me.
the way she was talking to him, and I could see her blushing, and the color of her hair and everything. It's just like, you know what? She really does have a resemblance, and I think that could be his mom. The more and more like I read, it's like, yep, I'm pretty sure that the maid is probably Udu's future mom. What do you think about that?
Well, the moment I saw her, like, the first thing that came to mind was like, that's Udy's mom. That's his mom. It's got to be his mom. Because, and the thing that made me like go 100% sure on this was when Ryukin was talking about his arranged marriage with Masaki and saying that a Quincy love should be based on a Quincy marriage should be based on love. And then the next panel down, you see her blushing a little bit, looking away slightly, and saying something like, "Your kindness is gonna go well with Masaki," or something like that. Something in that nature, you know? And then their interaction was just like, you can tell that the maid is in love with Ryukin, the young master, and it's probably just me, but I do see Ryukin in those first, like in those panels, care about the maid. Just his eyes, not his words. Just his. If you look at his eyes, it's weird because you can't really tell eyes in a black and white manga. But I looked at his eyes, and then I looked at his words, and they're being honest. And I don't know, it just felt like he cares for the mage. I mean, not the mage. This isn't fairy tale. Fuck fairy tale. Not the mage, but the maid. In like the way a husband will love a wife, something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely something there, and I mean, it just took me a while to see it, but yeah, like Ryukin's mother, had the maid been there, she probably would have been like, "Get to work, do this, do that, go there. I don't care, don't talk to me." But the Ryukin just stopping and talking to her and telling her about all of his feelings and what he thinks and stuff really shows that they have a good relationship, which and he trusts her enough to tell her all about his feelings. The fact that it's an arranged marriage, it sounds like something that he wouldn't be comfortable. Yeah, like he wouldn't be comfortable telling his mother. Like you don't tell your mother about that in an arranged marriage. It's just like, well, your opinion doesn't matter. So the fact that he trusted the maid enough to tell her shows that they have a good relationship based on trust. So, although she's too shy to tell him what she truly feels. But that's not the fact. That's not that she doesn't trust him. She's just so freaking shy. She might feel out of place as the maid. It's like, oh, I'm a maid, and I can't just say, oh, Ishida, or yeah, I love you.
That is true. I think one thing we did skip though was it was a very very minor thing. Was when Ryukin asked where his father was.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate and stuff about this, but I don't care. Is it me? It's probably just me, but was Juha Bach the only thing that came to mind when he said father? And then the mother replied, "Your father is in the fifth garden." Why did I immediately think that it was Juha Bach that he was talking about?
It would make sense. Um, Everything relating back to one another. The fact that he referred to Ichigo as my son born in darkness, I don't think that means he was directly Ichigo's father, but I would imagine as a leader of the Quincy, he would consider himself a father. I mean, we saw how he really didn't care about some of the Quincy by the fact that he obliterated that one guy's arm, but he might think of himself as the father of Quincy, as their leader that we've seen. So maybe it'll come out to be that he's actually Sheeta's father and everything. I'm getting lost with my train of thought.
Sorry about bringing that up. It bothered me and I needed to get it out.
I can see that being a possibility.
But then Soken, we're not gonna get into this. That's gonna be another. There's gonna be another video.
What we think of Ishida's, what we think Juhabak is. Father,
Yeah,
brother, Quincy.
we we should continue with the review.
Alright. Um, and then we saw Masaki in her room, and really not much there, except for Ryukin was mentioning that she's not stupid. and that she'll figure everything out. But what else was there in the chapter? They we go back to Ishin, I guess. Or did you have anything else to add about the Ishida household?
I have something to add about the arranged marriage and the connection to Ishin and Ryukin. I'm not sure if I should say that now or wait till the end of the video.
No, you can say now.
At this point, we all know that, Masaki was adopted into the Ishida household, and that Ryukin and Masaki were arranged to be married. But Ryukin, we know that he doesn't love Masaki like a fiance. We saw that with his dialogue. So, technically, Misaki is like a sister to him, which would explain Ryukin's and Ishin's friendship, pretty much. It's like, Ishin, you better take care of my sister. If not, I'm coming after your ass. That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about it. If you want to say anything about that, then you can.
Well, it made me think of something. What did you think of Misaki's personality? Who does she kind of remind you of that we know?
Orihime.
Yep, she gave me that vibe.
Santen Keshu, I reject.
She gave me the Orihime vibe.
Ryukin gave me the Uryu vibe, and Ishin gave me the Ichigo vibe.
Really?
Ichigo, he can be playful at times,
Yeah. He does have that sort of cool guy act going on, like whenever he said, I have to pee. That's just cool guy act. But we've seen Ishin be openly perverted with Rongiku and everything. And, I mean, Ichigo's still young. He could develop to be like his father. But I don't know. We know, well, Ichigo's, I think Ichigo might be a closet pervert. Like, he's not gonna ruin his image by going out there and doing that. But we saw whenever Rongiku tried to stay at his house that one time and she was unbuttoning her blouse and he was peeking through his fingers.
Don't forget the peaches, bro. You can't forget the peaches.
No, we can't forget the peaches. This is my theory about Orihime and Misaki, whatever similar traits and personality.
They're exactly alike, though.
Yeah, very. They are. Although, Misaki didn't seem to be as timid as Orihime when we first met her.
Yeah.
Like, Orihime when we first met her was just a wreck of shy timidness. But Misaki, like, the way she just went up to Ryukin and was really close to him and the way she just talked to him showed she wasn't as shy. But she definitely had Orihime characteristics, like, no doubt.
And she was a bit playful with Ryukin. With that face when she was near him, was like, hey, if you don't want your food, I'll be glad to eat it. I was like, that face is playful.
Very playful characteristic. So, I believe the next part was we see Ishin again, and we see that his two subordinates have stayed behind, and Ishin's talking about drawing out something with his Reiatsu. So, what were your thoughts on that?
Ishin raising his Ryatsu to draw out the thing that was killing Shinigamis in the rain. Good strategy. It was a good idea. It was something Ichigo would have never done. But it was a good idea to do that. It would have been a better idea if he would have gotten far away from the two Shinigami before he did that. But as you can see, the thing that came killed one of them.
Yeah, chopped his head half off.
Like, through the mouth. Right? It was through the mouth.
That's what you're gonna love about Bleach. Just chopping people's heads half off.
What did you think, Shinigami?
I thought that it was, like you said, it was good strategy to bring him out with the Reiatsu. We saw we've seen with all the hollows that they target people with larger Reiatsus. because they're tastier. But I think Ishin knew that it was a stronger hollow because I don't think many hollows would go to some Reiatsu that could overpower them by that much. Like, if it was just a regular normal hollow, you think it'd almost be intimidated by it. I mean, they're stupid. Some of them, the weaker hollows.
The weaker hollows are smarter than the Minos Grandes. So.
The ones that can talk are smarter, but the ones that we've seen that just go everywhere, yeah, they're pretty stupid. But I think Ishin knew that it was stronger, and that's why he used all of his a lot of his Reiatsu at least, and to draw him out. But I thought it was really clever, the strategy, and that also showed us how fast the Hollow was to get in behind him, attack one of his subordinates, and get out, or at least one of his subordinates that we saw. I don't think we really saw the other one after that.
Oh, he's probably taking a piss.
You wait here and watch Ishin. I gotta pee. Not as badass as Ishin, but. And then
Now.
the form
Of the Hollow.
You notice any similarities to something we've seen?
I believe it's a striking resemblance to when Ichigo fought Ukiura.
His Vasta Lorde.
Now, people will shut up about it being a random power-up.
What were your thoughts on what it is?
I believe it's actually it's actually Ichigo's Hollow. I believe it's actually him. Somehow, some way, in the next couple of chapters, it's gonna become a part of Misaki or Ishin. I guess after Misaki beats the living shit out of him, it's gonna become part of one of them. Like the essence of it is gonna become a part of one of them, which would explain Ichigo's hollow side and his final form, which looks strikingly similar to that. What did you think of the form?
Well, I did notice something that's not related to the form. I noticed that it was raining, and Ishin is going to fight this strong opponent, and I have a feeling that this fight is going to lead to the opening, or the ending of the first Everything But the Rain OP, where Misaki comes out. She's just left Ryukin. We saw her, she was in a room, but she may have left the house or something whenever she sent something so strong. And I have a feeling that Ishin's going to get beat by the Hollow.
We saw his condition, so.
Yeah. And that's where we see Ishin lying on the ground. She comes to save him. But anyway, back to what it actually was. Well, we know Aizen was experimenting with holification and everything. And it could very well be... well, it looks a lot like Ichigo, so it might just be it. But I really hope they don't do something like the Nine-Tails Fox in Naruto, where it's like seal into the mother and then the mother dies. Well, she doesn't die whenever he's born. We saw that. But
That's the first thing that came to my mind, but then I hated myself for thinking that.
No, it's perfectly logical. He could very well do that. It may just end up being something like Nine-Tails Fox being sealed. And Ichigo has always had this hollow in him. But, yeah, I think it's definitely something of Aizen's byproduct. Like, he made it, and it was sent to Karakura town. Maybe he was trying to get rid of Ishin himself, and it didn't work out or something, or he wasn't planning for Misaki to come.
But when does Aizen not know every answer?
When does he not know? But I think it will be answered well, maybe it'll be answered in the next few chapters what that actually is, but it's uncertain right now. But like I said, I think it could very well be Ichigo's Vaster Lorde form, but a regular hollow. But I'm just sort of clueless when it comes to how it was sealed in him, or how he comes to obtain it. I think, what you said, that it was sealed in Ishin or Misaki or something. Maybe to protect everyone else from it. Or maybe why we see Ishin on the ground is not because he's defeated, but because he's somehow found a way to seal it within himself, and the power was too much and he collapsed. I don't know. It's just something we'll have to wait and see about. You have anything to add?
Hmm. It could be something Ishin and his Zanpakuto are capable of. So all we know right now is that he can use Getsuga Tensho, but we don't know exactly what his Zanpakuto can do. So maybe after, like, maybe Ishin, maybe he's getting roughed up. He's getting beaten, he's getting battered, he's getting cut, he's bleeding out. And like you said before, what if Misaki felt that power and then she left? But I feel like that's not the only reason why she left. I feel like Ryuken's mom came in there to her room, started bitching at her again. Ryuken broke it up again. Misaki left. She ran away. And then she felt the power getting closer and closer. So she fought. And by the looks of it, it looks like she kicked ass. But did she do it alone? Is the thing. I don't think Misaki did it alone. I think Ryuken came after her because he sensed it too, and he sensed that she was getting closer to it. So Ryuken came too. He came to help Misaki, and Ishin and Misaki falling in love was coincidence.
My thoughts on the chapters and stuff. I thought that since Tite Kubo was doing the Everything But the Rain OP 1, 2, 3, and since he's counting them, I don't think he'll go all the way up to like 11 or 12. So that hints that at least this reigning period is going to be short. I think at most it'll be 5. So, but that doesn't mean he can't go on with what he's talking about. He'll just change the name of the chapter. But I think the resolution of that fight will be within the next 2 chapters, at least. He may, who knows, he may go up to 6, but I highly doubt anything higher than 6. So at most we have another 2 or 3 chapters of fighting, and then Misaki comes in. And it ends with that. But it could continue on to talk about maybe Ishin goes back to the Ishida's place, or I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I like all that right there. This was Twitter. I'd retweet that. Hashtag all of this.
Did you have anything else to add on the chapter?
Not that I can think of. But if I do, then that's another video right there.
Do you want to talk about the basic FAP?
Yeah, we could talk about the basic FAP.
What would you rate it for badassness? Between 1 and 10, 10 being the most, 1 being none.
8. I'll rate it at 8.
I'll rate it a 7. I gotta give it a 7. What about attention level? How glued to the screen were you?
As soon as I saw Ishida, I couldn't take my eyes off. But, the beginning part, I was into it. I was really into it. But, as soon as it said Ishida, I was like, yep. Yeah.
I was about a 6 all the way up until he had to pee. And then once we saw the Ishida's house, I jumped up to a 10. And then once we saw the Hollow, I was about a 16.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jumped up by 6 right there.
It was like, he's just talking to his subordinates and gotta pee. Whoa, Ishida's. Okay, I got it. Wow. And then all of a sudden, bam, it's like, okay, that looks familiar. My eyes are touching the screen.
Is Okiura anywhere around?
No, I don't think so. Although I don't know. Who knows? What did you think of how? What was your? How would you rate it satisfactory wise? How satisfied were you with the chapter?
And 11. I was it. It was a I. Ooh, I can't even put it into words. It was a damn good chapter of Bleach. Haven't enjoyed. I haven't enjoyed it this much since Yamamoto died. I mean, I enjoyed the chapters in between, but this chapter was just. Oh my god. Yeah. You?
Uh, for me, satisfaction. I'd rate it a 10. Yeah, I was really satisfied with everything. I was really glad about all the past stuff. What? Okay, I'm missing an eye. Oh, interest level. How interested were you?
Interested. I. I'm always interested in a new chapter of Bleach. Always. Just to see what's gonna happen. But
Was it a very interesting chapter of Bleach?
it was, because you not only get Ishin's background or backstory, you get Masaki's backstory, you get Ryuken's backstory, you get the Shida clan's backstory, and like, you get Ichigo's backstory. So my interest rating would be, it would have to be a 12. It was interesting. Everything was interesting.
I'd have to say an 11 for me. I was very interested too. It was a very interesting chapter. And confusion meter. How confused were you by this chapter? Was it confusing or?
0.75. I was only confused by just like the father part in the Ishida household. That's the only thing I was confused about.
I would say it was about a 1. Like, a lot of stuff made sense, but you did get more questions this chapter. But you always get questions. I mean, that's the point of a cliffhanger. You question what's going to happen next. But I would say it was about a 1. So, all right, now the fat part.
I just love fapping.
I do too.
Oh, wait, that sounded wrong.
What did you think for fan service?
So, fan service 0.
And how about animation? What was the quality of the chapter between 0 and 10? Good drawings, bad drawings, lots of white, or what?
Well, Kubo's not really known for his artwork, right? But this chapter was fairly well drawn out. Either between an 8 to a 9.5, it was drawn out and it was detailed, and to be able to draw your characters like Ishin while it's raining and still keep a lot of the detail was awesome, was spectacular.
I would give it between a 7 and 8. It was pretty good animation, better than some recent chapters he's done. There wasn't as much white, like we saw details on the building and where they were standing and everything. So I think he did a pretty good job this chapter, especially with everybody's outfits. They weren't just bland. It was like actual designs and stuff. But all right, the last thing, predictability. What was this? Did you predict anything in this chapter? Did like last week? Was this chapter very predictable?
Predictability. Oh man. Well, my prediction of Masaki being like close to the Shidas or related to them, I guess you could call that predicted. Um, but everything else, like the two Shinigamis with Ishin, the Vassal Lorde, uh, that, and Ryuken's mom and young Ryuken, I could never predict that. So my prediction rating for this would be like so about a 3 to 4 on prediction level.
I would give it about the same rating, about 3 to 4. I saw more of Ishin in this chapter, and I was delightfully surprised. Like I told you whenever we first started talking, was I thought he was going to be somewhere in Soul Society. So I can't say I predicted everything, but and especially that last part with the hollow, that just completely threw me off. It's like I was not expecting that at all. Expecting some hollow, but I thought, you know, who knows? But yeah, I'd give it about the same rating, 3 and 4.
So overall, what was your chapter rating? On a rating from 1 to 5 stars, 1 to 5 stars.
I would give it 4 stars.
You have 4 stars. It's about the same as me. I would give it 4 stars as well.
It was a really good chapter, and I really liked all that happened in it. But I don't think it was a perfect 5 stars yet.
I feel you. It was a solid chapter, nice read, page to page. I mean, it would have been a 5-star chapter if it wasn't for chapter 511, where Yamamoto died. If that chapter wasn't as good as it was, this chapter would have been a 5-star chapter. Because now you have a chapter to base the other chapters off of. Chapter 511. Wait, was it 511 or 512?
I believe it's 511. So
Well,
I think that's it.
I think we're done.
Don't forget to check for the links in the description. And there's no Naruto chapter this week, and there's no Bleach chapter next week.
And there's no One Piece chapter this week either. I didn't see it whenever I was looking up chapters.
Well, there may be a fairy tale chapter. I'm not sure.
And if there is one, you can catch me Friday or whenever that review's up.
And maybe there will be a Naruto chapter. I know there's Naruto episode. Maybe there will be I can't talk. There is going to be a One Piece chapter in 2 days. Or episode, God, I can't talk. So I'll be reviewing that. And yeah, so we will see you guys later.
This is the Quincy,
This is the Shinigami.
and thank you for watching our review.